welcome to OurTime. What's happening in the world of bugs? Well, you're not a bug, Kristen, but welcome, Kristen Messenger.
Oh, I'm just a bugger.
I know, a little bugger of bugs and slugs.
Yeah.
Now, we've had you on the program before.
Yes.
And we've had amazing reactions. And I think a couple of times ago, Janice was here and I had, a praying mantis climbing through my hair that she was terrified of.
Stick insect. We haven't done praying mantises yet, but we should.
Let's do that soon. I've had a snake crawling up my sleeve. I've had a variety of bugs and things walking over me, but we haven't actually just talked about bugs by themselves.
Well, beetles, that's what I want to talk about this time. Beetles.
What's the difference between bugs and beetles?
Beetles have chewing mouth parts and true bugs have sucking mouth parts, but they're both insects. But beetles belong to a group of bugs called the Coleopteran, and true bugs belong to a group of bugs called the Hemipteran.
And that was information we all needed to know right
Absolutely.
there to start with. Why are they so important on the planet?
Well, beetles represent 25% of all the animals on our planet. So if you got all the different species, if you got one species of every known described animal on our planet, and you lined them up in a big long line, there would only be one human in that line, because humans are all the same species. There'd be a couple of different dogs.
Oh, I know a few humans. I don't think they're the same species, though.
Well, according to our DNA, we are. So there'd be a couple of elephants, there'd be a couple of different lions, tigers, but 1/4 of all the things in that line, so every fourth thing in that line would be a beetle. So
That's
the diversity of beetles is enormous.
That.
Yeah.
Because we don't see that many beetles. Why not?
No, I think they're out there, but they live in almost every habitat that you can imagine. So there are
We've got a few of them around us here.
Yeah, and nearly all of these beetles, they have a complete life cycle. So the only stage that we're really familiar with is the adult beetle. So a beetle isn't adult.
Because they change.
Yeah, so they have a complete metamorphosis where they hatch out of an egg, they become a larva, and then the larva becomes a pupa, and then the pupa becomes an adult. So just like the Very Hungry Caterpillar.
The children's book.
It's the same life cycle.
Right.
Yeah.
So if you've read that and you're an adult, you must have read it at some time or been read to you.
Yes.
Yes. So we've got a pupa here. Is that correct?
No, this is a larva.
Oh, sorry, that's a larva.
Yeah, I didn't bring any pupa because I couldn't.
Quite all right.
Find
I'm quite
one
happy about that. So let's just hold this up so we can see this little grub having its
I've got 2 larvae actually.
Okay.
So these are both beetle larvae.
Rightio.
So this one is the larva of...
Oh, hold it. Hang on. Hold it still for a minute. We haven't got it yet. Just... There we go. And it's having a bit of a wriggle around.
Yeah, so this one's a classic larva that some people might recognise it as one of the mealworms. These guys get called mealworms, and that's the larva of a tenebrid beetle. In this case, it's the larva of this beetle, which is an introduced beetle called a Blaps beetle or an Egyptian beetle.
Oh, okay.
You recognise it from Indiana Jones and the Temple of Doom and
there you go,
the Mummy.
Just hold that still for a tick. Yes, the interesting thing about that, it's not part of a scarab. Is that part of a scarab story-speaking Egyptian?
Interestingly, it's not a scarab beetle. Sorry, I talk with my hands.
Hold it still. Your mother would have told you to hold it still.
It's not a scarab beetle, but it's almost always depicted in movies as a scarab beetle.
Right.
Because it's very convenient in a movie to have a beetle that lives for a long time as an adult. Yeah.
And is that what we've got down here at my feet?
Yeah, that's what they are.
All right. So I'm waiting to hold these in a minute, which I will. So,
okay, so that's the larva.
So that's the second stage for them. Egg
larva, and this sheds a number of times, so it has a few instars.
So they have an exoskeleton.
They have an exoskeleton.
See, I am intelligent after all.
And then they shed and they get bigger and bigger.
Eat?
Well, these ones ones eat almost anything. They like grain, they like mouse poo, they like chook poo, they like carrot, seaweed. They'll eat.
Aren't we glad we're born human?
Yeah, I mean, they're an introduced species, so they have a really wide tolerance
Now,
for...
when you say an introduced species, why were they introduced? They're not a native Australian species, we say.
No, they were stowaways, so they came over on
the
grain
wooden ships? Oh,
and,
okay.
Probably in the late 60s, early 60s.
Oh, that late?
Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
All right. So they're living currently in like sawdusty stuff.
These ones I keep in sand.
Oh, in sand.
Yeah,
Okay.
because I don't really want them to breed, but they breed anyway. The one that's in sawdust is this one, and this is a Scarab Beetle.
All right. Just hold it there for a tick because we've got to take a quick break and we'll be back to see what that grows into in just a moment. I can't wait for this next bit. Do you want to pick them up?
Sure.
There we go. Ooh.
Do you like that?
Whoa! Watch them go. Oh, this is Indiana Jones. One's
So
up my sleeve.
it is.
Keep
These
watching. Keep watching. They're falling in the thing. There they go.
No beetles have been harmed in the making of this
No,
segment.
except the one that just fell on the floor. Whoop, whoop, dip, dip, down here, mate. Yep. Whoa, that one there and back. Oh, sorry. Sorry, we know we're trying to get close-ups of them, but here, there we go. Going walkies. There we are. Oh, hello.
So you can see how tough they are. That's why
Whoop.
they've done so well in Australia.
And they
because-
smell a bit like earth. Could that be the earth they're in, or is
Yep.
it...
Yep, but they do have a defensive fluid that doesn't smell like earth. It smells more like a squashed millipede.
It does, as you say that. Now, what are these good for? Apart
Nothing.
From crawling? Nothing.
No.
They
they're-
don't clean up the forest floor, or they don't, you know, eat
Don't
up
say
the...
I said that, but they are an invasive species. And so if you are a sheep farmer or if you run a silo and you're sending grain to the silo, these guys are pests of silos and granaries and hay sheds.
Right.
Yeah, so they compete with native species, like these guys.
I'm just going to pick this up because we might be able to get a shot how they're very friendly with each other in the corner.
Yeah, and all this stuff.
Are they
here,
mating
that's
up
their
here in the corner? Are
defensive
they mating
fluid.
up here in the corner, or are they just being friends? Right
A
up
bit
in
of
this
both.
corner here.
Oh, they're mating, yep, for sure.
There we are. Fascinating things, but I can see how these would be useful for filming because
They're
so
robust.
many of them, and off they go.
Yeah, they're really like little tanks.
They are. Now, why are you keeping these then, Kristen, if they're useless?
For the same reason that they use them on film sets, because we visit schools and kindies and all sorts of places, and these guys they're very tough. So they're not like a lot of beetles that have a really short adult life cycle.
How long do these live?
Years as
Really?
adults, yep.
See, we don't think of these sort of things living for a long period of time. We sort of think of them as being quite short-lived, I suppose.
Yeah, so the larva that we looked at before, the scarab, that's the larva of this sort of beetle, which is a fiddler beetle.
Can I hold that
and
for
that
you?
one's just died. That's my last adult for the season. So they've been laying
But
eggs.
its markings are quite beautiful,
Beautiful,
aren't they?
yeah.
You can see why these became sort of beads and things for, like, you know, we
Sure.
talk about the Egyptians and all of that. You can see that colour is just amazing.
Yeah, they're often iridescent.
And you can see how big they are on my hand as well. Are you sure that's not alive?
I'm sure.
Something's actually going itchy on my hand under there.
No, it's definitely dead. But they've got tarsal claws that are quite strong. So this is a
I'll
different
just put
kind.
that back. Oh,
That's
I
okay.
dropped it in there. Is that all right?
This is a different kind of tenebrid beetle. This is one of my favourite beetles, and that's a pie dish beetle.
I sort of worked that out eventually what that meant.
Yeah.
Because it looks like a pie dish.
Yeah, some people call them hat beetles, and they have a larva very similar to the Egyptian beetle. So
Now,
they have
this
that.
one is unwell, isn't it?
No.
Is it still alive?
Yep.
Oh,
Yep,
okay.
but they're good at playing dead, but you can
It
see
did.
that it's quite,
there you go.
quite
Yep.
alive.
I can see that.
And these guys live in sand dunes and sandy places, but they live in similar habitat to the Egyptian beetle, so they do compete with each other. But you mentioned colour before, and I think I can't go past...
No, now these are quite... Now, Kristen's going to hold these very carefully, so we'll try and get in as close as we can with the camera because their colour is just extraordinary.
It's pretty amazing,
They're iridescent,
isn't it?
really.
Yeah.
But what's special about these are that you are one of the very few breeders in Australia.
In Australia, yeah. If we were in Japan or Malaysia, this is an Australian species. It's called a rainbow stag beetle.
Can you
this
turn
one's
him round a little bit?
Yeah.
A tiny bit? There we go.
This one's a male.
How do you know?
Well, I'll find a female and
He's
then
got
you'll be able to
whiskers.
see. So a female doesn't have those great big mandibles at the front.
In the front, right.
Here's a female.
Can you turn them around the other way? Because they...
Which way?
Yes, no, that...
That way?
Oh, now you can see the fact that one's got big mandals here in the front and
Yep.
this one hasn't there.
So this is quite a large female, but this is quite a small male.
Now you've got some banana there. Is that a food source for them?
Yep, they eat fruit. They're not a scarab beetle, they're a stag beetle.
You've got the colour you expect
Which
the
is
scarab to be, though, more or less.
Yeah, well, some scarabs can be this colour. So
Or
these
that
are
greeny-
a licanid beetle.
Right.
And they're a big group of beetles, but I think you can't go past them. There are little stag beetles. So here's a little stag beetle. This is a golden green stag beetle.
Well, you can see why. 'cause-
Yeah, so this one's a lamprima. This one's a Phalacrignathus. This is probably the most popular...
I think you're making those names up, Kristen.
I could be.
You could be.
This is probably the most popular beetle in the world among beetle breeders. This is the one that
Right.
everybody wants worldwide.
Now, you know, we know about dog breeders and cat breeders.
Sure, yep.
But you're the first person I've ever heard say beetle breeder.
Yeah, right.
How many are there?
Not as many in Australia, but it is growing. So 20 years ago, it was a very lonely community.
Well, I suppose if
but
you
now,
but if you lived in an apartment where you can't keep a
Yeah.
bigger animal, you could actually very comfortably look out for these.
and there's a lot of science involved in breeding them. And some of them, this is a rhinoceros beetle. Now, these are females, so they don't have the
They don't have the big horn,
but these are a
okay.
scarab beetle as well.
Can you turn him round a bit, or her around a bit? Yes, there we go. Maybe go the other way with your hand, yes. Oh, there we go.
Yeah, she's...
They're so small, and yet they're so large in their smallness.
Yeah, well, she's actually pretty big for a beetle.
Yes. Because I think of beetles like the little ones that when you move a rock and they all, you know, what do you call those little brown thing lives under? Oh, so many.
Yeah, there's
in my
a
garden, I've
million
got lots
beetles
of
that live
little
under
brown
rocks.
ones
Oh,
that-
you might be thinking of slaters.
Slaters.
Oh, they're not a beetle. They're a
Oh,
crustacean.
God, I'm gone again.
Yeah.
They're a what? A crustacean?
They're a crustacean. So,
they're related to crabs and
crabs.
things?
Yep.
You're
Yep.
kidding?
No, I'm not. I would never joke
You've
about
got
something
crabs
like
in the
that.
garden. Who knew?
Yeah, there's a lot of different crustaceans in your garden.
Are there?
Yeah.
Next time we'll have to talk about crustaceans in the garden.
Well, we can. I've got lots of crustaceans.
In your garden? Now, listen, everyone is asking this question quietly in their mind,
Right.
I'm sure. Where do you keep these in your house?
I've got a dedicated bug room in my house. But
Is that next to the bedroom? So you can all
no,
sleep quietly
there's
together?
No, we've got a rule. It's not my rule, Malcolm. It's a rule that's been imposed upon me. But there is a rule that no
him
bugs
who
in
must
the
be obeyed,
Yes,
is
no
that-
bugs in the bedroom. Particularly
Because you would have, let's be honest.
Yeah, it stems from a scorpion bite in the bed.
Oh, I thought you were going to go that's made you a superhero bug
No, it didn't
person.
bite me.
Right.
I'd never trained them to bite me.
Did it bite him?
Yes, it bit James on
Oh, poor James.
I think on the ankle or something. I didn't actually wake up. but it wasn't pleasant. So that led to no arachnids in the bedroom.
Okay, I can understand
which has
that.
been extended to no
So
bugs in
Jason,
the
our
bedroom.
director, just doesn't want to see any of these whatsoever. He just let them go and said, no, 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 no. As soon as he saw these, why are people so afraid of something that's so small?
I think it comes down to the creepiness of them. So very few people are afraid of those
The pretty
pretties.
ones, yeah.
Yep. Lots of people are afraid of these, and I think that might be because they've seen The Mummy or they've seen Indiana Jones,
All
that
those
whole
beetles
series.
coming out, yeah.
And they're the beetles that were used, you know, and they're always depicted as flesh-eating and, you know, that they can get into your body and eat you from the inside out, and they can't do that. There are things that can.
Oh, yes, but not these.
But not these.
So-
There are beetles that do that, but not these.
Right. They'd probably be popular in cemeteries when you think about it.
Yeah,
Perhaps we don't think about that, though.
All right.
No, we'll just move on. So what do they actually eat? Because I know it's very diverse.
Yeah, everything. So there's a lot of the scarabs as adults are pollinators. A lot of the tenebrid beetles as adults eat grain and organic
let's
material.
go back to the pollinators. So without them, a lot of flowers wouldn't be pollinated and turn into fruit
Yeah,
or
they're
into
such
grain.
good.
Or...
There's so many beetles that pollinate. It surprises me that we bang on about bees and butterflies and they're okay at pollination.
Well, we probably,
but
yeah, but we only hear about
hands
bees,
down.
that's why.
Yeah, but then ants and mosquitoes and flies in Australia are probably better than all of those things put together. But lots of beetles
Okay.
pollinate. There are a whole heap of beetles
What sort of things would they pollinate?
everything.
Everything.
Yeah, yeah,
Fruit, vegetables,
yeah,
flowers.
yeah, everything.
That's everything.
Everything.
Is that everything? What else could they
Everything.
pollinate?
So they're not so reliable as pollinators of agricultural crops. That's where honeybees come in because they can pollinate a crop that's all flowering at the same time en masse, and so you need a massive number of pollinators to hit that hard all at the same time, so you maximise your yields for that particular
Makes
crop.
sense, yep.
Yeah, but in a native context, in a native forest, beetles pollinate everything.
Okay, well, let's talk about the back garden because a lot of people still have a back garden, or you might be living in an apartment with a few pot
plants.
plants. Are there beetles that will keep things growing better because they're there, or is it better to try and avoid, say, in a potted plant garden in an apartment, is it better to get rid of all the bugs?
Oh, well, I'm never going to say that, obviously. But there are beetles that are pests. So here's an issue for me. These beetles, which I said are the larvae of the green fiddler beetle, there are 30,000 different species of scarab beetles in Australia. Some of them are introduced pests, like black African lawn beetle, that's a scarab.
And they've come in the same way on ships in goods or whatever?
Yeah, or they've flown here or they've come in
but
lawn.
nobody introduced them purposely.
No, they weren't introduced purposely, but there's a heap of scarabs like dung beetles that were introduced purposely because they
And have they been a
recycle
benefit
dung.
to our agriculture?
Yeah, dung beetles are hugely beneficial, hugely.
Is that why we brought them in the first place?
Yep, that's why we brought them in, because if you're a dairy farmer or even a sheep farmer, there are species of dung beetle that will bury dung almost as fast as it can come out the end of a cow.
Right.
And then that reduces flies, that reduces maggots.
Well, that
of
makes
course.
perfect sense. So,
Yeah, and getting that dung back into your pasture means that your pasture gets the benefit of the fertiliser from the dung.
Yes.
So, but there are beetles the same scarab beetles that eat the roots of plants. So black African lawn beetle eat the root of your lawns, but there are native beetles like those big Christmas beetles.
Yep.
Their larvae tend to eat the roots of eucalyptus seedlings and stuff
So
like that.
that's not a good thing.
Well,
Well, it
everything
depends
in
where they are, I
balance, I
suppose.
guess, yeah.
Now, and that's a very good point. Everything is balanced. So clearly, beetles have evolved to create some sort of balance within nature. Specifically, what is it? It's obviously for fertilisation or pollination, as you said.
There's not one answer to that because, like I said, beetles represent
I've
one
got 5
quarter
fingers,
of all the living things. So they recycle, they pollinate, they cultivate. So they're digging, because don't forget they've got larvae that are digging through the soil and pooing as they go.
Yes, so it looks like they're eating it from the colour of that one.
They're cultivators.
Yeah.
They're fast food. So lots of things eat them. Like often if you pick up an owl pellet, it'll be just filled with beetle exoskeletons.
Birds, of course, eat it.
Yeah.
I've got the fifth finger.
What have we said? And they
those.
make our world cool because they're really interesting.
Make our world cool. So do you, Kristen. Do the kids respond to this with wonderment that these things exist and they're alive and real? You see?
There's some things There's some things that I just keep to myself. I'm like Gollum. So like the rainbow stag beetles, I just keep them at home going, oh, my pretties. And now the cat's out of the bag. See, they're a secret thing. I don't really tell people about them because people ring me and want larvae and stuff.
I'll ask you. You won't tell, will you? Not a word,
not a word.
You've not seen this at all. Just for you, just in your head. Kristen, it's wonderful that you actually have these. But now, last time you were on, you had a parrot.
I've still got that parrot.
Well, hopefully
Nemo.
you do, because they live for a long time, don't they?
Yeah.
So do you grow bugs to feed to the parrot?
No,
or
parrot.
Does she just eat?
That Nemo's a rainbow lorikeet, and they don't really eat bugs unless it's an accidental consumption. But we do have a pet magpie called Elvis.
Of course you do.
And Elvis is a buginator.
Right.
Yeah,
and
Elvis eats everything.
But do you have to breed for him?
Oh, we do. So we feed Elvis lots of crickets, mealworms. Elvis likes mealworms.
Right.
There's a few weird things Elvis doesn't eat.
Right.
So Elvis won't eat silkworm caterpillars, but she will eat silkworm moths.
You just said she's Elvis. You'll have to explain that to me while we take a short break, and we'll be back in a tick with the amazing Kristen Messenger. We're back with Kristen Messenger, and we're just talking about the magpie called Elvis. Why?
Because I didn't think she was going to survive when I first found her. She was so little, so I just let a small child name her, and I said it has to be a singer. And the only singer they could think of, I think their dad said Elvis.
Elvis.
Yeah.
Well, did you know it was a female at the time?
No, she was way too small. She was tiny. She didn't even have feathers.
This is an Elvis. Have you named this one?
No.
I think you should call it Malcolm.
Okay, I will.
Okay.
It is a boy, so I can call it.
Oh, very good. Well, I'm definitely one, so yes. So I can now say I've had a, what's it called?
A rainbow stag beetle, Phalacrognathus muelleri.
Oh, definitely the Phalacrognathus right. Yes, definitely that. I like that. Kristen, you've had this interest for a long time, and we've joked about lots of things, but I love the fact that, was it one of these you lost in Bunnings?
It was. I was doing a display.
Tell the story. I love the story.
I was doing a display in Bunnings at Parafield, and the 1 minute the rainbow stag beetle was in the enclosure, and I didn't have the lid on, and the next minute it wasn't. And everyone was like, oh, I think someone's stolen your beetle. But
because they're very valuable.
Well, they are, but only to somebody who knows what they are.
Yes.
Yeah, and I thought, I reckon it's flown off. They've got these really bright...
Actually, that's something we haven't discussed, the fact they can fly.
Yes. Yeah, that's why I'm sort of looking at making sure it's not
doesn't
about to
open up its back. What happens? It opens up its
they're night flyers, and it would sort of start to raise these elytra, these hard wing covers here.
Yeah.
And then it's got proper wings underneath.
Yeah. Quickly tell the rest of the story. So
it disappeared.
A couple of days later.
So I said to Bunnings, look, if someone finds my beetle, can you let me know? And 3 days later, I got a call from them to say, we found your beetle wandering through the cafeteria.
Of course they did. Kristen, thank you very much. Once again, it's been fascinating. I've held the Indiana Jones Beetles, and my life is complete. Thank you so much for joining us this time on OurTime. So until next time, goodbye, Beetles. Thank you, Kristen. Keep yourself nice till next time we meet. Bye.